Welcome to Voice of the Nation. I'm Chanchai Wong. Today, British and people around the world, including Thai people, get to say goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II one last time in a state funeral that just ended several hours ago. Our guest tonight is a Thai who spent more than 30 years living in England and his memory with Queen Elizabeth II. Please welcome คุณพอล วรเทพ จันดีราช Regional Sales Manager of Thai Bev Marketing. Welcome คุณพอล to our program.
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับคุณพอล
Good evening. Thank you for having me today.
Okay, thank you for coming to our program. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about how long have you been living in UK and what did you do there?
Well, I've actually lived in the UK for over 30 years. So my parents were, they moved to the UK since the late 70s. So They've been living there for many decades, actually. So, I moved there when I was really young, for about 5 years old, and lived there for over 30 odd years. So I've only just moved back to Thailand about 5-6 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago, sorry. And I'm now living and working in Thailand.
Okay, so you went to school in UK and then you have your family there?
Exactly, yes. I studied in the UK, met my wife in the UK, and we now have a beautiful family now. We're all living in Thailand.
Okay, and 30 years is a very long time to live in other country. What is your memory of Queen Elizabeth II while you were living in UK?
Well, to be honest, having a Thai family, we've always been brought up to value and respect and actually admire the royal family, especially in Thailand itself. So I think that actually naturally carried over to actually respect the actual the British monarchy as well. So for me, growing up, my late mother actually was a real royalist. She really loved the royal family in the UK. She loved Queen Elizabeth and the family. So growing up, there was always that positive feeling for the royal family in my household. So for me, it's always been a positive thing about the royal family itself.
Okay, may I ask where in UK did you live? Which city?
I grew up in a small town called Epsom. So Epsom is quite a famous town, actually. It's a town where Queen Elizabeth used to actually come every year to a race course called Epsom Downs to race one of her prize horses at the Epsom Derby. So it's a yearly event where she would come. And one of the fond memories I have of Queen Elizabeth actually was every time she comes into Epsom Town and when she drives out, she would drive past the road where I lived, and everybody in the around my area would actually go and wait at the main road to see her drive past and wave it to all of us. So that for me is always something that's stuck in my mind. She would always wave to all of us standing on the side of the road waiting for her.
Okay, and what was your impression with Queen Elizabeth? Did you think that she was a very noble queen, or was she very down to earth from your impression as a young boy?
Well, to be honest, I think growing up, thinking about the Queen Elizabeth herself, I think growing up you always see the Queen on the TV and you hear stories about the Queen, and every year at Christmas time, especially during a Christmas dinner, the Queen would always have a yearly Christmas speech, and that's something we would sit down as a family together, always listen to the speech she gives before having our Christmas meal. But I think my memory of Queen Elizabeth and the way she was, I think she has always been a queen where everybody actually really respected, admired, and adored, and that for me has always been something that has never changed in my view, in that sense. And for me, for what I know of Queen Elizabeth is that she was actually a patron for many different organizations and many charities in England. I think over 500-600, if I remember off the top of my head. And that just shows, how well respected she is. She gives a lot. She's a person that people really does respect and admire and adored.
Yes, we all know that she worked very hard trying to help as many people as she possibly could. And what was your reaction when you first hear about the Queen's death?
Well, actually, I was quite saddened to hear the news because, the Queen represents England. She is the figurehead of England, and having such a great loss, it's very saddening for not just me as a Thai person who lived in the UK for many years, but I think for the majority of the British people as well. I feel a connection to England. I grew up all my life there, so I have that deep connection as part of it, as an English, and as an English person in that sense. So for me, I was very saddened, and my family as well. They were very saddened to hear of the news of her passing.
Okay, and I think the news came quite as a shock because just 2 days before her death, she just met with Liz Truss, the new prime minister, and appointed her as a new prime minister. And
Yes.
2 days after, the bad news came.
It was a total shock indeed. Like you just mentioned there, she was in front of the cameras 2 days before she passed. So I think it was a big shock. 2 days ago she was on the TV, but then a couple of days later she's passed away, sadly. So yeah, it's a very sad time for everybody.
Yes. And do you know that how was the Thai community in England respond to the news?
Well, speaking to my family and friends in the UK, they're very saddened by the news. Actually, a lot of the Thai people in the UK that I know of, they are really quite loyal. They really do admire the Queen and the British, I would say the British royal family itself. And I think there's lots of things, lots of my Thai family and friends going to Buckingham Palace, praying and sending out flowers at the actual Buckingham Palace as well. It just shows the Thai community as a whole, really respecting and really paying their respect to the late Queen.
Okay. Myself, I never been living in UK before, but I went there one time for holiday. And when the first thing that when I think about England is the image of the Queen, yes. Because you saw her so often. Would you say that the Queen is the greatest symbol of UK? That when people think about England, the first thing that came to their minds is the Queen.
I definitely agree with that. When I think of England, there are a few things I always think of: the monarchy, Queen Elizabeth herself, black cabs or black taxis, yes. And fish and chips. So those three things are what you would expect to find when you think about of England itself. So Queen Elizabeth was a spearhead. She was a great person that people who come to England, they want to see. It's one of those things. They will go to Buckingham Palace, hopefully to catch a glimpse of the Queen at the palace or drive by.
Okay, and during her 70 years reign, there is a lot of up and down in the monarchy history. Which moment do you think was the lowest moment of monarch in UK in your memory?
Well, to be honest, I think one of the lowest was, actually losing Princess Diana. Actually, I remember vaguely when I was probably in my early teenage years when, yes. When Princess Diana, had the accident, and we lost Princess Diana. That was a very sad time for everybody as well, because Princess Diana was also, like the Queen, much loved by the British public. She was a great woman. She was a great princess. She gave so much. She was also a patron to many organizations and charities, and that was a big loss. I think that was probably one of the low points. And also, of course, now losing the Queen herself. That's for me probably one of the lowest points.
Okay, and then there is also a high moment. Which moment do you think was the highest moment of the UK monarch that you remember?
Well, to be honest, I think it'd probably be for Prince William's wedding ceremony. To be honest, when you grow up in the UK, seeing the royal family growing up, it's part of British culture. You see them from kids to teenagers to now grown men to be fully, full-grown prince.
Yes.
You kind of grow up with them at the same time. So seeing Prince William actually getting married, he's going to be the future king. So that was, for me, was quite really nice to see. So something a bit more positive in that light as well.
Yeah, I think Prince William is about our age. So and we saw him as a boy growing up together from her high school period, university, and when he joined the army and married, and then now have kids. So So we feel like the monarch is like part of a family, especially for English people. Okay, and and why do you think the Queen Elizabeth II was loved by so many people around the world, not just the British?
I think it's just the way she carries herself. I don't, she's just well respected in the sense she commands respect. So I don't think from my memory of Queen Elizabeth, she's never been someone who's not thought of well. Everybody always has a good. What would I say? I would say people have a good. What's the word for it? I'm trying to remember the good word for it. No, I think everyone has a positive thought about the Queen herself. Actually, I think the way she carries herself, she's not very pushy. She's very thoughtful about other people's feelings. I think that's, for me, as a monarchy. You don't have to command respect. You get it by showing you are not just the Queen of England, but you are someone that people do love and admire and respect because of your actions. No, she, like I mentioned, because of the stuff that she does with the charities and stuff as well. So that is a thing that I think people can see that she really tries to help a lot of people, and that's what a great monarchy should be. And that's what we're blessed in Thailand. We have a great king in Thailand as well, and the late king as well. He was a great man that the whole of Thailand admired and adored. It's the same thing. I think for me, when I think about losing Queen Elizabeth, it's like when we lost the late king of Thailand as well. It's one of those kind of feelings as well.
Yes, it's not easy being queen or king. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of pressure. Yes,
definitely so.
And I remember the first time that I remember about Queen of England is that when I took the flight to New Zealand and I saw this episode of Mr. Bean, and then there is something about Queen Elizabeth in the series, and then that the Mr. Bean making fun of her and stuff, and then we know that one thing that people like about Queen is that her sense of humor.
Yes. Yeah, I think she doesn't take herself too seriously. That's the thing about the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth. I think she can take a joke. I think she's been, like I said, in the sketch from Mr. Bean, of course. Now, I think it's one of those things where the monarchy in England, especially, people can say things about them. They, putting into comedies, etc. So I think it's the way that they don't take it too seriously. They can have a joke with it as well. So that's the thing about them actually.
Okay, and now Thai people around the world, in UK, in Thailand, and other countries also mourn the death of the Queen. What do you think is the greatest legacy that she left for us to carry on to the future?
Well, I think the main thing I would say is probably the charity work that she's been doing in the past. Like I mentioned, she's a patron to 600. I think I remember reading somewhere she was over, she presided over 600 different organizations, charities. I think that is what her legacy is all about, really. Her giving, it's her nature to give, to other people. I think that's why people really love and respected her. That's the way she was. That's my point of view on her. That's how I've seen and what I've known and read about her. So I think that's the main things. And I think the charity work that she's done throughout her years, actually.
Okay. And my last question: if you can pass a final message to Queen Elizabeth, what would you tell her?
thank you for being a great queen. And it's a sad loss for everybody. So.
Yes, and I'm sure that everybody around the world share your thought. Okay, thank you very much, Kun Paul, for talking with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
And that's all for Voice of the Nation. Thank you for staying with us.